Did you know that desire doesn't go away with age? It just sleeps, waiting for the right moment to wake up. In this video, we reveal the 5 scientifically proven foods that can reactivate pleasure, improve circulation, balance hormones, and bring back the vital energy that many believe they have lost after 60. Through real stories, you will discover how to pepper stimulates circulation where it matters most. Cocoa awakens dopamine and self-love. Avocado rebuilds desire from the inside out. Walnuts rekindle quiet courage, and turmeric with black pepper takes away the pain that prevents touch. Here we talk about longevity, sexuality, and health with truth and courage. Subscribe to the channel and activate the bell. Few people realize it, but sometimes the body whispers answers that medicine has taken decades to hear. As in the case of Mr. Heater, who at 72 years old returned to the doctor's office with a sparkle in his eyes that had not been seen for a long time. "Doctor," my wife asked if I started taking anything new, but it was only the food that changed. The doctor smiled, intrigued. Heater had started eating more colorful, spicier, more natural foods. And without realizing it, he rekindled something that many people his age had already given up on: desire, and more than that, energy, willingness, and the pleasure of life itself. Something that many people call libido. But that goes far beyond the body. It's about being alive. And one of the elements that has most surprised studies in recent years is precisely what many avoid out of pure prejudice: pepper. Inside chili peppers, there is a compound called capsaicin. It is what makes your tongue burn, your face heat up, and your body react as if something intense is about to happen. But what few people know is that capsaicin stimulates sensory nerves, increases blood circulation, and activates neurotransmitters linked to pleasure and the feeling of reward. When consumed in moderation, it can improve blood flow, including where age tends to take its toll. And we're not just talking about the heart. A study published in the Journal of Sexual Medicine observed that men over 60 who regularly consumed spicy foods showed significant improvement in penile vascular response, something essential for maintaining healthy erectile function. But it doesn't stop there. Women also benefit from the vasodilatory action of capsaicin, as well as the increase in oxytocin, the hormone that connects us emotionally. This helps not only with arousal, but also with the feeling of pleasure and real intimacy. And why does this matter for longevity? Because sex isn't just about desire, it's about health. It involves circulation, hormonal balance, self-esteem, touch, connection. It's movement, it's warmth. And the body, like the soul, needs movement to live long and live well. Many seniors report that by including mild peppers in their diet, such as chili peppers or fresh red peppers, they began to feel more active, their face flushed, and their sleep deeper. And touch made sense again. It's not about overdoing it. A teaspoon, a touch on the plate, a well-measured sauce. The secret is in the frequency, not the quantity. Peppers that warm the palate can also warm relationships, self-esteem, and even the circulation of hope within those who thought that life had cooled down. Hector understood this, and when his wife noticed, it wasn't through words. It was through gestures. The way he took her hand in the middle of dinner, with desire, with brightness, with warmth. Science has only confirmed what the body has always known. Longevity begins where there is life pulsing within, and if there is heat on the plate, there may be heat in the chest. It was on a cold Wednesday night that Donna Elza, aged 69, decided to try something new. For years, she had avoided sweets. She controlled her glucose levels and followed the dietary guidelines. But that night, she opened a forgotten gift in the pantry, a small bar of dark chocolate, 85% cocoa. She calmly broke off a piece. She put it in her mouth. She closed her eyes, and he felt it. Not just the taste, but something different, an immediate sense of well-being, almost like a hug from within. The next morning, when Elza arrived for her yoga class, her face was flushed and her mood was lighter. Her friends noticed. "Are you in love, Elza?" She laughed, fixing her hair. "Maybe. By myself." What Elza didn't know, but her body already felt, is that pure cocoa has surprising properties. It's not just food, it's almost a chemical messenger. Rich in flavonoids, cocoa improves blood flow, lowers blood pressure, and increases the release of serotonin, dopamine, and phenylethylamine, a substance known as the love molecule, because it mimics the effect of falling in love in the brain. And how does this connect to sexuality? All. Pleasure begins long before touch. It begins in the brain, in the blood that circulates well, in the release of pleasure hormones, in the way we feel about ourselves. When the brain receives signals of well-being, like those elicited by dark cocoa, it relaxes, and a relaxed body desires more, loves more, feels more. Studies show that consuming pure cocoa in small amounts daily is associated with improved endothelial function. This means that blood vessels function better, which directly impacts sexual performance, especially in mature adults. But cocoa also speaks to the soul, the feeling of comfort, warmth, and worthiness. All of this rekindles self-esteem, which is one of the pillars of desire in old age. Because it's not just about ability, it's about feeling worthy of pleasure. Elsa began to include a small square of 85% cocoa chocolate every night. And each day, she said, she felt more alive. Not because of the chocolate itself, but because she remembered through it that she could still taste, she could still desire, and that is powerful. Because pleasure is a right, not an accident. And when a food gently restores this, it is not just food, it is a key that unlocks memories, releases substances, activates tissues, and, most importantly, reconnects the human being with his own body. What melts slowly in your mouth can also slowly ignite your heart. And in times of speed, slow pleasure is what heals the most. Mr. Guilherme didn't talk much about himself. A widower since he was 62, the father of 2 children who lived far away, he lived his life according to an almost mathematical routine. A walk in the morning, reading in the afternoon, soup at night. It was one of those nights, while preparing soup, that he heard an interview on the radio. An expert was talking about how avocado could be one of the greatest allies for men's sexual health after 60. He smiled sideways. A fruit? He thought. Now they want us to believe that pleasure comes from the market. But something in the expert's calm tone made him reconsider. The next day, he went to the market. He bought 2 small avocados, ripe. He mixed it into his breakfast, a little with lemon, some in paste form, and he made it a habit. No rush, no expectations. What Guilherme didn't know is that avocado is one of the biggest sources of monounsaturated fats, which help balance good cholesterol, HDL, and reduce bad cholesterol, LDL, factors directly linked to blood circulation, good heart function, and hormone production. But there was more. Avocado is very rich in vitamin E, known as the fertility vitamin, in addition to containing magnesium, potassium, and folic acid, nutrients that promote tissue oxygenation, physical performance, and even the body's natural lubrication. Both men and women benefit from this, and when circulation improves, the skin changes, the eyes shine, the vital energy begins to reorganize itself. The body understands that life is active and responds with disposition, mental clarity, desire. Within a few weeks, Guilherme began to notice small changes. He slept better. He had more energy when walking, and for the first time in years, he felt present again. It was on a Saturday when he was going out to buy bread that he ran into Marina, an old school friend. She laughed, fixed her hair, and asked if he still remembered her name. Hard to forget, he replied. They had coffee together. And that morning, Guilherme understood that sometimes the body just needs permission to rekindle. Science has already proven it. Adults over 60 who regularly consume avocados have a lower risk of cardiovascular disease, better hormonal balance, and more sexual vitality. But the most curious thing is that no one eats avocado expecting it. It is soft, almost discreet. But it is precisely this lightness that makes it so powerful. Because longevity doesn't have to be loud. And mature sexuality doesn't have to scream. She can be like an avocado, firm on the outside, soft on the inside, full of energy, even when she seems restrained. At the end of that afternoon, Guilherme opened the window, felt the wind on his face, and smiled. I had rediscovered something that many people forget after 60. Pleasure doesn't retire. It just changes rhythm. Dona Irene has always been discreet. A retired teacher, 74 years old, widowed for over a decade, she lived alone in a small apartment, with walls covered in books, souvenirs, and a closet where she kept, hidden, old love letters. She never said it out loud, but she still dreamed of experiencing something new, not because she felt needy, but because deep down, the heart never forgets how good it feels to be touched, even if it's just a look. It was during a routine appointment with the nutritionist at the health center that she heard, "Irene, you need to eat more good fats. Have you thought about including nuts in your diet?" She laughed. "This is rich people's food, doctor." The professional insisted, "A handful a day." That was it. She didn't need any more. Irene agreed. The next day she bought a small packet, and so it began. She put 3 in her breakfast, another 3 in her yogurt in the afternoon, without expecting anything other than to comply with the recommendation. But her body, that one, understood everything. Walnuts are small living powerhouses. They contain arginine, an amino acid that improves blood circulation and promotes the dilation of blood vessels, including those that carry blood to the sexual regions, which are essential for the physical response to desire. But more than that, they are rich in selenium, a mineral essential for the production of sex hormones in both men and women. Selenium helps the body regulate the production of testosterone, the hormone linked to energy, desire, and vitality. And contrary to what people think, testosterone is not a male privilege. It is also present in the female body, and its decrease can affect libido, mood, and even the quality of sleep. In the following weeks, Dona Irene began to notice that she woke up feeling more energetic. She started climbing stairs again without sighing so much. She slept more peacefully. And the most unexpected thing, she missed being close to someone. She started going to the Senior Citizens Club more often. She took dance lessons. She rediscovered the joy of wearing a new blouse. She painted her nails red for the first time in years. Nuts alone don't explain everything, but they were the first seed. Because nutrition, when done well, is a direct conversation with the biology of hope. It gives the body what it needs to remember what it is capable of. And Irene's body just needed to be remembered. A study conducted by Harvard University showed that the consumption of nuts and oilseeds is associated with improved sexual function and quality of life in adults over 60 years of age. The reason? A natural cocktail of nutrients that support circulation, hormonal balance, and mood. But Irene didn't need to do any research. All she needed was an invitation at the end of her dance class from a gentleman named Ademar, who elegantly extended his hand and asked, "Would you like some tea with me at the cafeteria?" She looked at him, then at her hands. She smiled. "I accept, but only if I can eat nuts with it." The two laughed and walked side by side, without haste, without fear. At that moment, Irene understood that pleasure can be found in every simple gesture. But it needs one thing to blossom: body ready and heart awake. Mr. Alvaro was 77 years old and had a silence that lived in his bones. He had been living alone since his partner passed away. In recent years, he had barely left the house. Joint pain, constant fatigue, and an apathy that no one could explain had left everything gray. It was the grandson, curious and persistent, who came through the front door with a glass jar and said, "Grandpa, this is turmeric with black pepper. I learned it from the science teacher." Alvaro looked askance. "Do I look like stew to you?" But out of kindness, he decided to mix half a teaspoon of it in warm milk in the late afternoon. At first, he found it bitter. Then, he found it curious. Within a week, he was making his own recipe without anyone noticing. Turmeric, or ground turmeric, is one of the most powerful natural anti-inflammatories known to science. Its active ingredient, curcumin, acts directly on reducing inflammatory markers in the blood, which accumulate with age and cause everything from chronic pain, muscle stiffness, fatigue, functional impotence, and even loss of appetite and desire. But there is one detail. Curcumin is only absorbed efficiently when consumed together with piperine, the active compound in black pepper. It is this duo that awakens the sleeping body. With regular use, Alvaro began to feel his fingers less swollen and his knee more relaxed. He started walking up the street slowly again, leaning on the gate, until one day he decided to go back to the club in the square, where he played the accordion on Sundays before finally going silent. And when he sat on the accordion bench, his hand a little shaky, and pulled the bellows slowly, something reignited. The sound came out again. But this time it was more than just music. It was memory. Because physical pain, when constant, silences even the heart. But when the body begins to respond, even slowly, the soul reappears. Turmeric not only restored mobility, it restored rhythm. And this was reflected in everything: mood, hunger, sleep, and the warmth in the chest. Sexuality in old age depends less on the strength of the body and more on the absence of pain. Pleasure begins when the body stops causing discomfort. And Alvaro, without realizing it, had started smiling again with his eyes. He started talking more. He played with his grandson. He watched entire films without dozing off. At the end of one afternoon, during a soiree at the club, he met Dona Aurea again. They danced an entire bolero together. "Have you not danced in a while?" she asked. "I haven't felt like it in a long time," he replied. Turmeric alone does not explain everything, but it opened a path. A path so that desire, affection, and touch could circulate again in his body like the blood that renews everything. Longevity is not just the extension of time, it is the recovery of the inner fire. And that fire, when rekindled, is unmistakable. Because it doesn't burn on the outside, warms you from the inside. Hector, Elsa, Guilherme, Irene, Alvaro. 5 names, 5 stories. 5 bodies that, for a long time, were treated as abandoned land, as if, after 60, there was nothing left to flourish there. But they all rediscovered something essential. The body does not grow old to die. The body grows old to tell another story. And in this story, pleasure still exists. Desire still pulses. Intimacy is not a luxury of youth. It is a vital right of long life. Whether it's the pepper that warms the senses, the cocoa that releases dopamine, the avocado that lubricates the hormones, the nuts that whisper courage, or the turmeric that takes away the pain in the joints. Every food that enters your body is a message that it reads. Every nutritional choice is a key that unlocks not only arteries, but also silences. In old age, we don't seek performance. We seek presence. Presence in touch, in laughter after dinner, in walking more firmly next to someone, in the lightness of a pain-free Sunday. And when the body starts to react to these signals, the heart, the memory, the libido, everything comes back. Not as it was before, but as it never was before. Freer, slower, truer. Because true longevity is not about living longer. It's about living with more quality, from touch to digestion, from breathing to affection, from bed to gaze. And if anyone out there still thinks that talking about sex in old age is taboo, it's because you've never seen a 70-year-old man's eyes shine again. You've never seen a 65-year-old woman put on lipstick just because she wanted to look at herself in the mirror with more pleasure. He never understood that pleasure, when it matures, does not fade. It refines. Maybe the right question isn't what to eat to live longer, but rather, what can I do to make my body continue wanting to live and feel alive? The answer may be on your plate, or the way you hold it, because the body is the last place we should abandon. And sometimes, all it takes is a spoonful of turmeric, a square of chocolate, or a hand holding ours on the walk, to remember it's still worth feeling. If this story touched you, if you believe that life doesn't end at 60, it starts again, subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment below. What food or habit helped you feel more alive? Let's share healing knowledge. And remember, pleasure has no age, but the courage to seek it, that only grows with time.